great opportunity to have this space to discuss some of the hot issues that we've talked about, from immigration reform and issues at the state and local level. But in any case, I am a candidate. I am on your ballot if you are a city voter. And if you're not a city voter, you can tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you met me and you encourage them to vote for me. So I am, running for a second time. I am running, why am I running? This is an incredible, amount of time, energy, and resources to run for public office. In a field race of a city this size, we have 24 other candidates. And why I'm running is because I truly enjoy the work of City Hall. I got to be in the midst of the work for almost 4 years. I worked for former Vice Mayor David Crowley, and while there, he was a committee chair. And at that time, there was a committee called Health, Education, and Environment. And anything related to those three things that were legislative proposals or policies would flow through his office. And so I staffed that work. I staffed his office as he managed that committee. And so I got to work on gun violence. Why? Because we saw it as a public health crisis. And so we tackled gun violence in the context of that committee, viewing it as a public health threat, and worked on implementing Ceasefire Cincinnati and other initiatives. The environment, we worked on environmental justice, and this was a 4-year-long, real lengthy process of building community engagement around this policy that we ultimately were able to pass. And it was the first of its kind. It was really to put in an added layer of essentially regulation on industry to make sure that when they came into our neighborhoods that they were being responsible about the types of particulates they would be emitting and what would happen if there was an explosion, right? Like say you're doing some industry thing and then something explodes, the people that live right next door, how are they going to be informed? What is the risk to these people? Because what we knew was that it was really tied into environmental justice, and we knew that usually communities of color and communities of poor people tend to bear the brunt of environmental hazards, and that's very true here in Cincinnati. So those are the types of things I got to work on. And so I bring to this role someone who has experience, someone who has real excitement and passion for this work. Lately, professionally, I'm the CEO of Community Shares of Greater Cincinnati. We do fundraising for local nonprofits. One of them is the League of Women Voters Education Fund, which helps to put together your guide right in front of you. It's a nonpartisan guide to your vote. And so it's a great day job that I have there, and it helps me stay connected into the work of social justice, environmental justice, and equity building. So that's what I do as a day job. So I am asking for your vote to help me get to City Hall, and with that, I will close. Thank you. Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Right here with myself. Is this thing on? So I'm Tamaya Dennard. I'm a first-time candidate running for Cincinnati City Council, and I'm very, very excited to be here. I love running for City Council. It's been such an amazing experience. One thing I noticed, though, with running for council is that the process of running for office is one that begs a lot of privilege. And so because it begs a lot of privilege to do this, you oftentimes get people in office who don't understand the challenges that they're trying to solve against. They've never experienced what it's like to live in affordable housing. They've never experienced what it's like to have difficulty navigating the transportation system. They haven't experienced a lot of the root causes of poverty. And so that's why you oftentimes have policies and systems that are based on middle-class norms that aren't the norms of everybody. And so that's why I'm running for Cincinnati City Council, because I want to bridge the gap and make sure we're thinking about what the implications are for every single community, every single time. And so it's really important, because as I'm knocking on doors, the thing that I hear the most, I don't care if I'm in Bond Hill or College Hill or Pleasant Ridge or Oakley, people want a council that can get along. Because ultimately, when you have a council that doesn't get along, guess who loses? The people. The people get lost in the shuffle. And so in order to do that, you have to be a bridge builder. I am a proud progressive. I'm a proud Democrat. I'm a proud liberal. I don't know how many liberals in there. I'm a proud liberal. However, I don't think that that means that we have to not be bridge builders. You have to be in the room to change the room, no matter what people tell you. And so I'm proud to boast that we've received 25 endorsements so far, which is incredible for a first-time candidate. And not just the number itself, but who I'm endorsed by matters. So I received endorsements from Our Revolution, which is really left-leaning Bernie Sanders organization. But I've also, which is really, I think a lot strange to a lot of people, the Chamber of Commerce has called me one of their top 9 candidates highly aligned with their values. And so that means something to me. Not because I'm trying to be, to perpetuate the business environment here, but it means that I can engage people. I have a business degree. I can't run from that, but I have business acumen. I started my career on 4th Street. On the other end, working at Duke Energy in real estate. That's where I started. I work on 4th Street right now. On the other end, for a company called Design Impact. In Design Impact, we're a nonprofit design firm. And what that means is that we use the design process, but instead of designing things, we help nonprofits and community organizations design systems that help their clientele. So our clients are Children's Hospital, now we have Cincinnati Public Schools, Montgomery County Job and Family Services. We work, we're kind of issue agnostic, so we work on issues. As long as there's a disparity or an injustice, we try to work on that and help create better systems. And so I'm not running for city council because I think Cincinnati is going to hell in a handbasket, because it's not. And I'm not running for city council because I think I have all the answers, because I don't. But what I am saying is that people need to be engaged. Before I sit down, there's a woman on my lapel that I wear every single day, and it's Shirley Chisholm. And Shirley Chisholm so eloquently said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that's what our campaign is all about. How do we engage marginalized communities and people who have otherwise felt left out, and engage them in a way where it's not tokenism, we're not asking them what they think and not doing anything with it, or we're not asking them for their advice or feedback after decisions have already been made. We want to bring people together in an authentic way. They're engaging, and we're being true to want to bring more voices to the table, because we know the people who are most impacted by an issue are the ones that are going to help you design your way out of that issue. So I am asking for your vote now through November 7th. I am an endorsed Democrat, first-time candidate, Tamaya Dennard. Thank you.
Talk about the issues, a little bit more about the issues. I have a press conference at 1, so I'm not going to be able to stay the whole time, and I just wanted to let you know that. So I wanted to talk a little bit, and I would like to, if possible, really take a few questions, because I think it's most important to talk about the issues. Many or most of you probably know who I am and know what I stand for. And I was born and raised in Bond Hill by my fabulous anti-racist feminist mother who made a choice to raise us in Bond Hill. Could have raised us anywhere. Could have raised us anywhere. But I remember at 11 years old, I was on a bowling team, and it was in Seymour Bowling Alley, which of course is no longer there, which half of the stuff that I grew up with is not there, and it's just been wiped out and nothing to replace it. So bad planning, I think, on the city and on the port's part. But anyway, I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and I discovered I was white. I was the only white person in the entire bowling alley, and I didn't really, none of that had really, you don't, as a kid, me as a kid, because, my godmother is African American, my godfather is African American, that was my life. But I didn't really know about color and stuff, except when we would go over to the candy store, which was across Rhode Island. And when you cross Rhode Island, you're suddenly in Norwood, which I learned they don't really like African American people. At that time, there were none in Norwood. None. Not one. They'd throw rocks at us, they'd attack me, pull my hair for being with black people. the city is, in some ways, has come a long ways. In other ways, they haven't. We're doing a refresh of the collaborative agreement, which is important. But I also think, from the beginning, it just said common sense things like, don't beat someone with a club when they're already handcuffed. Don't mace them when they're already handcuffed. I mean, do we really have to spell these things out? I guess we do. But that's what, a bulk of the issues were. And a lot of the, I guess, people who are on council or running for council, they have this line that they don't cross. So when it comes to police brutality, they just can't cross it. When it comes to seriously addressing poverty or racism or classism, they just can't cross it. So when I fought to stop the destruction of Huntington Meadows, it's by myself. I mean, lots of other people, but in terms of political people, they weren't out there trying to stop the destruction of Huntington Meadows. In fact, I brought the president of Huntington Meadows to the mayor's office and was blocked. The mayor wouldn't even meet with the president of Huntington Meadows when it was being torn down. The same with English Woods. We went down to meet. Reverend Jones and myself. That's a train that's already left the station. So all of this destruction of low-income housing, or affordable housing, I should call it, Huntington Meadows, Lincoln Court, Laurel Homes, English Woods, half of Over the Rhine, a lot of the West End. When you add all those numbers together, what are we short? 28,000 people, 28,000 units? Hey, that has a lot to do with it. So our policies have created our problems. Also, the policies that we give lots and lots of money to corporations has created these problems. So, today we're going to call on corporations that we're not going to give corporate subsidies to people who don't pay a living wage, who don't pay $15 an hour. So I think objectively, the most important, I've got a litany of issues and things that are important to me, but I think objectively the three things that are must-dos for Cincinnati are poverty. 50% of the people living at or near poverty. We have to seriously address it, and I don't think we are. Transportation, obviously we all know 75,000 jobs are out of the reach of our current transportation. A must-do. It's deteriorated. When I was a kid, it was much better. I caught the bus 2 times a day for 16 years. It was much better. Even as an adult, for 8 years, I didn't own a car after I was 18 until I was 26. And the heroin epidemic. 2 people are dying every day, and our city council's response is give them $87,000 to one treatment center, which I went through treatment. I'm clean 34 years. I think my treatment was about $30,000. So, I mean, it was paid for by insurance back in those days. But 87 is woefully inadequate to address an epidemic that kills 2 people a day. If you have any questions about poverty or any of the other issues, it's just that I had to leave about 20 till 1.
Great. Why don't we have all of you respond